Hi, welcome to this video. My name's Freya and I have a little yoga business called Essential Yoga with Freya. A question that I get asked a lot as a yoga teacher is what to expect from your first yoga class. So I've put together a series of videos to help guide you through what to expect so that the idea of going to your first in-person yoga class isn't so daunting. I've done a video that explains what you might need to bring and the structure of a yoga class, so I will link that here and I'll pop it in the description below. There'll be 5 videos in the series where we'll do the Pranayama breathing, 3 asana videos from the different sections in a yoga class, and then a meditation video. And then after I've done each of those each week, I'll pop them all together so you can practice them all together or you can practice each separately. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the little series. If you have any questions about what to expect from your first yoga class or any other yoga questions in general, then just pop a comment below and I will endeavour to answer them. Enjoy! So the first part of the yoga classes that I teach is Pranayama, which is our breathing practice. Not every teacher structures their classes in this way. It's just something that I like to do because for me the Pranayama side of our yoga practice is extremely important, so I like to take some time on it at the beginning of every single class. So I tend to do around 10 minutes within a 90-minute class of Pranayama. So as beginners, we go back to basics with our Pranayama practice. So today I am going to do the full yogic breath with you, which is a 3-part breath, which helps teach you how to breathe fully and efficiently. So for this breath, we will be lying down. Sometimes in yoga classes you'll do your breathing seated, but for this one we will come to lying down. So if you want to bring yourself down onto the mat and just finding a way to lie that is comfortable. So you can use any props that you want to. Having the blanket underneath your head can feel quite nice. Sometimes it's nice to have something underneath the knees, so you can roll up a blanket and pop it underneath the knees. Whatever feels best, really. And then just lying either with the legs stretched out away in Shavasana or knees bent, feet on the mat. If you have the knees bent, try having the feet a little bit wider than the mat, knees rolling in towards each other, and then the legs support each other. Great. And then we're going to have the hands resting on the belly, fingertips touching. Try drawing the shoulder blades together behind you and then settling the shoulder blades into the mat. So the shoulders are down away from the ears. And let the body relax into the mat. So just take a moment, having a little wriggle, make sure you're comfortable. And when you're ready, allowing the eyes to gently close. And just take a few moments to draw your awareness in. Check in and notice how you're feeling within yourself. So our yoga practice is about connecting back into the self. With everything that goes on in our day-to-day, in society, in work, families, friends, a lot of how everything functions is drawing you out of the self. And that's okay. But it's important to have practices that bring you back in, that connect you back into the self, into the mind, the body and emotions, taking time for that inner world. So just use this time to connect into that. Notice how you're feeling within yourself, not in relation to other people, not in relation to your surroundings, just you. How do you feel within yourself? That could be how you feel emotionally, how you feel physically, how you feel mentally, whatever stands out to you. Just notice it and be aware. But try not to analyze. Try not to attribute positive or negative. Just be aware of it. And then let that awareness come to settle on the breath. So before we change or alter the breath, just notice how it's flowing through the body. Maybe you favor the inhale or the exhale. Is it smooth or does it catch anywhere? Are there natural pauses in the breath? Are you breathing through the nose or the mouth? How does the body move when you breathe? Just notice. Again, try not to judge it. Don't worry about right or wrong, just notice. Simple breath awareness. And without forcing, just see if you can start to breathe through the nose. Now maybe some of you naturally are breathing through the nose already. However, mostly in our modern society, people have started breathing through their mouths more. So breathing through your mouth connects into the sympathetic nervous system. That's our fight or flight part of the nervous system. So because life is faster, a bit more anxious, we breathe in that fight or flight mode. When we start to breathe through the nose, you connect into the parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest side, the calm side of our nervous system. So we need both, but we need them to be in balance. Too long in either side isn't very good for us. So in yoga, we train ourselves to breathe more through the nose, to come back to that parasympathetic nervous system, to help lower the heart rate, to create calm in the mind and body. But what we do with that is we learn how to control our breathing. So we know that when we need to, we can breathe through the mouth, and we can connect into that sympathetic nervous system. Our body will let us know when that's needed. But we know we can choose to come back to the parasympathetic. We can choose to breathe through the nose to control the breath. Breathing is a muscular action and it needs to be trained just as much as we need to train the rest of the body to be happy and healthy. We also need to train the breath. So if you're not used to breathing through the nose, take your time with this. Have a few breaths through the nose, and then breathe as you normally would for a few breaths. And maybe throughout your day, just check in and notice Whenever you can, if you can take a few breaths through the nose and gradually start to increase the time breathing through the nose throughout the day. So then we're going to think about sending that breath down to the center of the body. So as you inhale, allow the belly to expand, fingertips moving away from each other. And as you exhale, let the breath settle. Let the body settle. So the inhale, the belly expands. The exhale, the belly settles. Fingertips coming back towards each other. And just keep going like this, inhaling, belly expanding as if you're breathing into a balloon. And then exhaling, belly settling, as if you're letting the air out of the balloon. Again, this is something that we've maybe learned a little, particularly in Western cultures, is that when we inhale, we draw in. Now that's what we call paradoxical breathing. The correct way and the, let's say, the better way for longevity, let's say, to breathe is to inhale and expand. So you inhale, the belly expands, the diaphragm moves down, creating space for the lungs to expand and creating almost like a vacuum. So imagine the diaphragm like a pump action. Great. And then the exhale, the diaphragm moves up, sending the air up and out. Wonderful. So again, this breath, this abdominal breathing helps to lower our heart rate, draws into the parasympathetic nervous system. So if you're starting to feel stressed, just spend a moment breathing through the nose, sending that breath right the way down to the belly. Obviously the air isn't actually going into the belly, but that's what you're imagining. Great. So then we're going to slide the hands up so the hands are resting on the rib cage. So just resting on the sides of the body, feeling that rib cage. Now this time as you inhale, I want you to imagine that breath going into the center of the body. So, in the center of the body, into the rib cage. So as you inhale, notice how the rib cage lifts and opens, and as you exhale, notice how it comes in and down. So inhaling, lifting and opening. Exhaling, coming in and down. So you might find now as we're focusing on breathing into the rib cage, you're starting to feel a little more energized. So this breathing into the rib cage, the thoracic breath, this is associated more with action. So you probably notice when you run, when you walk, when you do anything that's more cardiovascular, you will find that you start to breathe more into the rib cage. The ribs lift more. You're breathing into that central part of the lungs. You maybe notice that the heart rate starts to speed up a little as we concentrate on the ribs. Again, this is how we start to train our breathing. We have the ability to slow the breath, to calm the heart rate. We also have the ability to speed it up, to increase that heart rate, increase that blood flow, to help us when we need to be active. Then lastly, we're going to slide the hands up so they're resting on the chest. So breathing in, take your full breath in and then take in just a little bit more air. And then exhaling. And you'll feel that the breath goes right the way up to that top section of the lungs, what we call the clavicular breath. We'll only do a few rounds of this because this breath is associated with maybe feeling a little anxious. So when we breathe like this, we're completely filling the lungs. We're finding that extra little bit of space. Wonderful. Then release the hands and just let the hands come to rest down by the sides, palms facing up. Now we're going to add those 3 sections of the breath together for what we call the full yogic breath. So as you inhale first, send that breath down, letting the belly expand. Then breathing into the rib cage. And then taking that extra little bit of breath in, breathing right up to the top of the lungs. Then exhaling from the top to the rib cage and to the belly. So inhaling belly, rib cage, chest, exhaling chest, rib cage, belly. And just continue in your own time. Imagine it like a wave going through the body. Inhaling belly, rib cage, chest. Exhaling chest, rib cage, belly. Don't worry if it feels a little unnatural. It takes a little while to get that definition between the 3 sections. To get the brain to check in. A full yogic breath, utilizing all 3 sections of the lungs, finding that balance in the nervous system. So not all parasympathetic, not all sympathetic, balance between both. So throughout your yoga practice, whenever you can, see if you can tune back into this breath. You'll probably find at points the breathing slows and becomes more abdominal, and at points the breathing hastens and becomes more thoracic. That's okay. That's natural. That's our body doing what it needs to do and what it's designed to do. But whenever you can, just come back to this full yogic breath, finding balance in the body. Nothing. So you're just going to let go of the awareness of the breath. Just let the breathing settle back into its natural rhythm. And just take a moment noticing the effects. So just moving gently with your next inhale, we're going to draw the right knee in, clasping around the right knee and hugging that right thigh down towards you. Now any discomfort in the lower back, you can always have the left knee bent, foot on the mat, or if it feels okay, then just keeping that left leg stretched away. So this pose is called panasonic. It translates as the wind releasing pose. So it's a good one to do in the morning or if you're feeling a little bit bloated. It's another thing to say as well. people are often a little bit nervous about farting in yoga classes. It happens and it's fine. It's just one of the things that the body does, and it's okay. So don't be embarrassed if it happens. It's perfectly natural. Everyone's done it at some point, or you're all good. Especially if you're doing this pose. It's what it's designed to do. So just thinking about hugging that thigh down towards the body. Then we're going to move this into a bit of a hamstring stretch. So you're going to interlace the fingers around the back of the thigh. Send that foot up towards the ceiling. Great. So we're trying to straighten through the leg, but you don't want it dead straight. So not locking the knee out. Have a little micro bend on the knee. Try and flex the foot. So you're drawing the toes towards you, pushing the heel away. So this is a flexed foot. A pointed foot would be pointing the toes away. So flexing the foot, drawing the toes towards you. Hands can stay where they are, or you can slide the hands up the leg. Now, if you like, some people find it uncomfortable trying to reach for the leg, or maybe just due to body proportions, you find it difficult to reach for the leg. So you can either take the strap around the back of the leg, or you can take your strap around the sole of the foot, using that strap in either hand to draw the leg towards you. So in a yoga class, don't ever worry about modifying yourself. So just because your yoga teacher hasn't said use your strap, if you know that it would be more comfortable for you to use a strap, then just go ahead and use the strap. If your yoga teacher has a different idea about that, then they'll let you know, and they'll hopefully say it in the nicest possible way. But as a general rule, if you know that there are modifications that are better for you, then go ahead and use those modifications. You know your body better than anybody else, and you know how something feels. So if you're not sure if you're doing the stretch right, just ask the yoga teacher where you should feel the stretch. So for instance, for this stretch, you want to feel it all the way down the back of the leg. We're working on the hamstrings. However, if we did something, say, with a deep bend in the knee, but still drawing that foot in and trying to open out through the knee, then we'd be trying to get into the hips and more of the belly of the muscle rather than right the way down the hamstring. So ask your yoga teacher where you want to feel the stretch. Great. So then we're going to bend that knee, release the strap if you're using a strap, or release the hands. Maybe give the knee another little hug in, and then stretch that leg away. We're then going to go on to the other side. So draw the left knee in, clasp around that left knee and hug the left thigh down towards you. Again, bend the opposite leg if that's better, or keep it straightened away. You can always also use the strap here as well. I have some students where they find it more comfortable to have the strap just around the back of the thigh underneath the knee and using the strap to draw the leg in rather than clasping around the knee to draw in. So again, modify as you need to. Lovely. Then we're going to send that foot up towards the ceiling, either fingers interlaced around the back of the thigh or taking the strap around the sole of the foot. If the fingers are interlaced around the back of the thigh, you can always slide the hands up the leg, drawing that leg a little closer in. I'm just going to move my microphone pack because I'm lying on it and that is not very comfortable. And as you're doing poses like this, think about relaxing into the rest of the body. So we're wanting that stretch down the back of the leg, but that doesn't mean the rest of the body wants to be holding tension. So try having a little bend in the elbows, snuggle the shoulder blades down towards the mat. Notice what's going on with the neck, Try tucking the chin in slightly so the back of the neck is nice and long. This is where having a little folded blanket underneath the head can help, because it just draws the chin in slightly. Lovely. Then we're going to bend the knee, release the strap if you've got the strap, give the knee another little hug in. Lovely. And then stretch that leg away from you, right leg stretched away, and just take a moment checking in and noticing how the lower body feels. Wonderful. We're then going to bend both knees, have the feet on the mat. We're going to go into a gentle supine twist, so a lying twist. So have the knees together, ankles together, take the arms out at shoulder height. A good variation on this, if the class is busy and you find you're holding hands with the person next to you when you stretch the arms out, or like me, I've got a cabinet next to me, you can always bend the elbows. So bending at the elbows, palms facing up towards the ceiling, can be a good modification for this one. It can also sometimes feel quite nice because it helps to open up through the chest. So knees together, ankles together, feet on the mat. You're just going to press into the feet, shift the hips slightly to the right, and then let the knees roll down to the left, letting the right foot lift off the mat. So coming into a twist, trying to keep the knees together as much as you can. The right foot lifts off the mat. The gaze can either be up towards the ceiling, or you can turn and look over that right shoulder. Trying to keep the right shoulder down on the mat. So if you find it's lifted, just draw the knees back up a little. Finding a twist right the way through the spine. Right, we'll take one more breath here. And we'll inhale, draw the knees back to center. Take a moment just to rearrange, give the hips a little wriggle, move the feet about. And then we'll go on the other side. So press into the feet, shift the hips slightly to the left, and then let the knees roll down to the right. So you're letting that right foot lift off the mat. Right foot, left foot lift off the mat. I always get my rights and lefts the wrong way around. We're going to keep the gaze either up towards the ceiling or turning and looking over that left shoulder. Notice where the breath has moved to in the body. In poses where we're holding, sometimes the mind can wander quite a lot. You can start making lists, wondering what you're having for tea. If you find this happening, don't worry, just acknowledge it. And then see if you can bring the awareness to the breath and the sensation of the breath in the body, and the sensation of the pose in the body. So don't go beating yourself up because the mind has wandered. Like I say, it's very natural. But just see if you can come back to the present moment, to the pose and to the breath. We'll take one more breath here. And then inhale to draw the knees back to center. Again, take a moment, rearrange. Have a little wriggle. So if you do have something underneath the head, I'd recommend just removing that for this pose. We're going to go into a bridge. So this should be fairly familiar to most people. For this pose, we have the feet hip distance apart, heels up as close to the body as is comfortable. Some of you might find it helpful if you do have a yoga brick. You can squeeze the yoga brick between the knees, and that just helps keep the legs in line so they don't roll in or out. So if you like having that yoga brick between the knees, so squeezing the thighs together to keep that brick in place. Hands are down by the sides, as I say, heels are up towards the body. Some people might find they can reach the heels. I've got really short arms, so I can very rarely reach my heels comfortably. So don't worry if you can't reach the heels, that is not a requirement. But just have the arms down by the sides, palms facing down. Shoulder blades snuggling down onto the mat, chin slightly tucked in. So with your inhale, we'll just start with 3 pelvic tilts. So your inhale, you're pressing the back of the waist into the mat. So imagine you're drawing that belly button down towards the spine. You'll feel the tailbone just lift slightly off the mat. Then with your exhale, we're going to tilt the pelvis in the opposite direction. So you're going to roll through neutral, then arch the lower back up off the mat just a little bit. I'm exaggerating here, so it only needs to go a little bit. So the tailbone is going down towards the mat. So we'll do that again. Inhale, press the back of the waist into the mat. So the tailbone lifts slightly off the mat, belly button going down towards the spine. Then your exhale, rolling through neutral, arching the lower back, tilting the tailbone down to the mat. We'll do that once more. So inhaling, press the lower back into the mat. And then exhaling, arching the lower back just a little way off the mat. Wonderful. So how we start our bridge pose is to inhale. So press the lower back into the mat. The back of the waist presses into the mat. The tailbone lifts slightly off the mat. And then you press into the feet, lifting the hips up towards the ceiling. So we do this so that we've got that posterior tilt to our pelvis. So the pelvis is like tilted just slightly back, and that will help you engage your glutes, lift into bridge, sending the hips up towards the ceiling. Then as you exhale, nice and slowly rolling down through the spine. And when you reach the mat, coming back into that anterior tilt of the pelvis. So just slightly lifting the lower back off the mat. And that should bring you back into a more neutral kind of state. I'm just going to remove the block, but continue with the block if you like. So we'll do that again. Arms down by the sides. With your inhale, tilt the pelvis, press the back of the waist into the mat. Push into the feet evenly, lifting the hips up towards the ceiling. Wonderful. So just let the breath flow here. And then we'll exhale, rolling back down. Lovely. So this time, as you inhale, tilt the pelvis, press into the feet, rolling up. And we're going to float the arms up and overhead. I've got a wall behind me, so mine can't go too far, but they can come to resting on the floor behind you. Then we're going to keep the hips lifted as you exhale and float the arms back down by the sides. Interlace the fingers. See if you can shuffle a little higher onto the shoulders. Keep pressing into the feet. Lift the hips a little higher. Squeeze the glutes. Then releasing the hands. Exhaling, rolling down, bringing the hips back down onto the mat. Wonderful. So that is a bridge pose. We'll draw the knees in, give the knees a little hug in, give the spine a little bit of a rock. So from here we'll come up to sitting. So you have a few options. You can roll onto one side and press yourself up, or you can just rock yourself up to sitting, whatever's best for you. If you have low blood pressure, you might find rocking yourself up makes you a little bit dizzy. So rolling onto one side is a little bit better, but just find what works best for you. So then from here, we're going to come to Dandasana, which is our seated pose with our legs stretched out in front. Now sitting in Dandasana, it can help. Sorry, got the hiccups. It can help to sit on the edge of a block or a blanket. So I always sit on the edge of a blanket. It just helps tilt the pelvis so you can sit up nice and tall, makes it a little bit more comfortable for sitting up tall. So depending on your pelvis, some people might find that sitting on a block or a blanket makes no difference. So just have a little play around, see what works best for you. If you are using a block rather than a blanket, you are sitting right onto the edge. So have your sit bones right on the edge of that block. So we're not sitting on the block, we're sitting to the edge of the block. And you'll find that when you sit towards the edge of the block, it just tilts the pelvis and starts that forward motion, which is what we're going into. So sitting up nice and tall, have a little bend in the knees. Again, something that I often find is people think they have to have their legs dead straight. Actually, having a little bend in the knees is very helpful because it just releases slightly into that superficial back plane of the body, which is the muscles all the way up the back of our body. It just gives that little release so that as you fold forward, you work more into the belly of the muscle rather than just the ends of the muscle. And it's that belly of the muscle where we start to actually create more flexibility. So having a little bend in the knees is extremely helpful. I always have a little bend in my knees when I come into forward folds because I know I have tight hamstrings, and so dead straight legs doesn't work for me. I also have hypermobility, so if I have dead straight legs, it actually causes stress on my joints, which is not good. So a lot of you might find that you've been drawn towards yoga because you do have hypermobility, which is where your joints move beyond the natural range of motion. We'll talk about that another time, but if you do know you have hypermobility, then just be conscious that whenever we go into any sort of stretch, protect your joints. So having those little micro bends in the elbows, in the knees, does help to engage the muscles and protect the joints rather than just relying on that range of movement that you naturally have. Anyway, I'm digressing. We're coming into a forward fold. So you can have your hands wherever's best they can be. Even if you're just reaching forward and your hands come to the mat near the knees, that is still getting a lovely stretch. As long as you can feel it up the backs of the legs, you're doing great. There's no need to reach for the feet if that's not best for you. Find where's best. You can use the strap as well. So the strap can go around the soles of the feet, taking the strap in either hand and walking the hands down the strap just until you can feel that good stretch. Something to be conscious of is trying to have a bend in the elbows, drawing the shoulders down away from the ears. So this just make sure we're not doing this and rounding the upper back in order just to reach the feet. And you'll find you get a good stretch into the backs of the legs. You can find your mid and lower back working a little. And you'll find with this pose as well, you will probably progress quite quickly. So stick with it. Practice it as often as you can. Maybe even take photos of yourself and be amazed at your progression as you go from feeling like this is the tightest stretch to feeling like this is the tightest stretch. That's a wonderful thing about yoga, is seeing what your body is capable of that you didn't think it was capable of. Lovely. So we'll just take one more breath here. And then we'll walk the hands back up towards you. Give the shoulders a little roll back and give the wrists a little circle. Moving the strap out of the way, moving the block out of the way. And we're going to spin the feet round and come to tabletop position. So we want the wrists underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. If you've got any discomfort in the knees, you can just double the mat over slightly, or you can have your blanket underneath the knees. It's always nice to have some extra padding for the knees. So again, as I say, hypermobile people, just have that mini bend in the elbows so you're not locking the elbows out. And then we're going to go into cat-cow. So with your inhale, you're lifting the chest, sending the belly down towards the mat. And with your exhale, rounding the back, belly button up towards the spine. So your inhale, looking up, sending the chest through between the arms, belly towards the mat. Exhale, rounding, gazing between the knees, draw the belly button up towards the spine, round the back. So just flow with your breath in this one. Don't worry about how fast or slow I'm going. If you're in class practicing this, don't worry how fast or slow the people next to you are going. We all have slightly different breathing rhythms, so just move at your pace. The inhale looks up and the exhale rounds. Think of it like that wave through the spine. So starting from the tailbone, working up through the lower back, middle back, upper back, all the way up into the neck. And then from the neck, upper back, middle back, lower back, all the way to the tailbone. We'll just practice one more. Lovely. Then you're just going to sit back onto the heels, have a little stretch back, either in ancestral worship with the hands stretched out in front, or bring the hands in. Forehead can rest on the fists, or you can have the hands down either side of you, forehead resting on the mat, coming into child's pose. So just connecting to that breath. Maybe notice the belly rising and falling against the thighs. Lovely. So from here, we're going to stretch the hands out in front if they're not already. Elbows lifted in ancestral worship. So we're going to come up into downward facing dog. Now, starting in ancestral worship is one of the best ways to get the right distance between your hands and your feet for downward facing dog. So if you stretch your hands as far away as you can without lifting your hips, so the elbows are lifted, you're stretching right the way through the upper body. With your inhale, we're going to bring the weight forwards towards the hands. So hands are about a shoulder distance apart. You want your feet hip distance apart. Tuck in the toes under, so we're going to start with a good bend in the knees. So lifting the knees up off the mat. So keep that bend in the knees and you're going to send the belly back towards the thighs. So you're finding that length through the upper body first. So try and draw the shoulders down away from the ears, head in line with the rest of the spine. So the ears are in line with the upper arms. So you can keep this bend in the knees. Downward dog isn't about straightening the legs, it isn't about getting the heels down towards the mat. However, if you want to, you can start to walk the heels slightly. I've got fluff on my feet, sorry. So starting to walk the heels slightly. Again, they don't have to go right the way down to the mat. If you find that you start to walk the heels and the weight comes forwards towards the hands and the back starts to round, then come back to that bent knee position. So giving the heels a little walk, maybe shake the head, nod the head, ease into the pose. Have a little play around. Everybody's body is different. So I find with my downward facing dog, having my feet a little bit wider than hip distance is more comfortable. That helps me to tilt the pelvis and the tailbone up towards the ceiling. Whereas when I bring my feet together, I find that it presses everything forward and I start to round into the lower back. So I tend to take my feet out a little bit wider. But just listen to your own body, find variations that work best for you. So then from here, we're going to lift the gaze towards the top of the mat, and we're just going to walk the feet forward. So bend into the knees, lift the fingertips, coming forward into Uttanasana, our standing forward fold. So again, have a good bend in the knees. You might find it more comfortable to have the hands on the legs at whatever height is best for you. Any issues with the heart, blood pressure, glaucoma, it can be better to be halfway rather than fully folded forward. So you can just rest the hands on the thighs, come to halfway instead. Also, if you've got a cold or hay fever or any sinus issues, it can be a bit uncomfortable having the head down. So coming to halfway is good, and you'll still be getting that stretch into the back of the legs. Or if it is okay to be fully folded forward, hands can be on the calves or they can be down onto the mat. Thinking about the weight coming forwards towards the toes, crown of the head lengthening down towards the mat. Great. So from here we're going to have a little bend in the knees. Inhale, take the arms out and up, draw yourself all the way up to standing, reaching the hands up towards the ceiling. Exhale, draw the hands down to prayer in front of the heart. So standing up nice and tall in Tadasana, mountain pose, sometimes called Svadhisthita, which is a call to action. So it's about standing evenly balanced between right and left, front and back, joints all stacked one on top of the other, feeling nice and strong and stable. So from here we're going to go into Warrior One. So for Warrior One, keeping that gap between your feet, you're going to step back with the left foot. So a nice big step back. Oh, I'm wobbling. A nice big step back. Make sure you've still got that gap between the feet, or else you'll definitely be wobbly if you've ended up all on a tightrope. So we've got that gap between the feet, and your back toes are turned out just a little, around 45 degrees. But this will depend on your hip rotation. So what we're trying to do is have the hips facing the front of the mat. So just turn the toes as much as you need to, so that you can keep the hips facing the front of the mat. And then bend into that right knee. So we're then pushing through the back heel, tilt the tailbone just slightly so that you're lengthening up through the upper back. We're just trying not to stick the bum out and create a big arch in the lower back. So just that little bend into bend, that little tuck in with the tailbone. Then we're taking the arms out and up, palms facing, shoulders down. Any shoulder issues, you can always keep the hands in prayer in front of the heart instead. Warrior One. Lovely, feeling nice and strong. We'll take one more breath here. And then a nice big step forward, bringing the hands down to prayer, going back to the top of the mat. And we'll go on the other side. So again, check in, make sure the feet are hip distance apart. We'll step back with the right foot this time. So keep that gap between the feet. Back toes turned out around 45 degrees. Bending into the left knee. Again, tuck the tailbone just slightly. If you know you have a natural posterior tilt, so you don't have too much of a curve in the lower back, then ignore that. Find the version that works best for you. We're just trying to stand up nice and tall and not have a big arch in the lower back. Take the arms out and up, palms facing, shoulders down. This can be one of the great things about going to in-person yoga classes. YouTube yoga is great and it's very helpful, but I can't see you and your specific anatomy and physiology. So for some people, that little arch into the lower back is a good thing. For some people, they already have quite an anterior tilt to their pelvis, so the arch into the lower back is extended and they need to think about that tuck. It's different for everybody, so your yoga teacher will be able to look at you and give you adaptations that you need to, or cues that you need to hear. So we'll take one more breath. And draw the hands down to prayer. And stepping forward. Lovely, give the legs a little wriggle. So you can stay facing that way on your mat. I'm just going to turn to face you for a moment. We're going to go into tree pose. So we'll take the weight into the left foot, turn the right knee out. So you can either stay on your toes, you can bring the foot to the calf, or you can take hold of the ankle and bring that foot to the inside of the thigh. I'm clearly having a very wobbly day today. So with balance, remember that it does change and alter from day to day, even from hour to hour. So don't worry if you're feeling very wobbly one day and you can't hold a balance. It happens to everybody, me included. You can always hold on to walls, or a chair can be quite helpful. Again, just chat to your yoga teacher. They'll be able to offer you alternatives. So hands can be in prayer in front of the heart. Then with an inhale, honestly, I told you I can't balance today. With an inhale, you're going to take the arms out and up, reaching up towards the ceiling, or you can bring them to prayer above the crown. Lovely. Remember to keep breathing. Breathing helps with the balance. Holding your breath, not so much. Then we'll exhale, draw the hands down to prayer in front of the heart, and release that foot, and give the legs a little wriggle. Wonderful. We'll go on to the other side. So weight going into the right foot this time, turning the left knee out. So again, either stay on the toes, foot to calf, or bringing that foot to the inside of the thigh. Great. Hands going to prayer in front of the heart. So particularly ladies, your hormones will affect how you balance as well. So as our hormones change throughout the month, it can change our proprioception, so our understanding of our body in space and our balance. So don't be worried if that changes quite a lot. If you like, taking the arms out and up, either palms facing, hands stretching out, or hands to prayer above the crown. So when there's wobbles, just go with those wobbles, don't try and fight them. Try to let the body recalibrate itself. Wonderful. Then draw the hands down to prayer in front of the heart. And release that foot. And give the legs a little wriggle. Lovely work. So currently you're facing the short edge of the mat. We're going to turn around and face the long edge of the mat. So we're facing to the side. We're going to take a big step out about a leg's length apart. Lovely. We're going to go into Warrior 2. So we're going to turn our right toes out. Now, again, this depends on your hip rotation. So some people find it best to have the heels in line. Some people prefer to have the heel and the instep in line. So you decide what works best for you, but we're bending into that right knee. Now we're working towards having a right angle behind that bent knee. But for now, find just the version of the pose that you can hold for a little bit of time. So it's quite a deep pose to have the right angle behind the knee. You're really working the thighs. So you might find that having the feet a little closer together and having a bit less of a bend in the knee is more comfortable. What we're trying to not do though is bend so far that the knee is tracking beyond the ankle. So try and find the pose that works best for you, pushing into the outside edge of that back foot, lifting the instep. Then we're going to bring the arms up at shoulder height, palms facing down. And just check in with that back hand. It has a habit of floating to all sorts of different directions. Let's try and make sure it's going in a nice straight line. And check in with the rib cage. So the rib cage might have travelled over that right leg a little. Try and bring it back so you're coming in a nice straight line up from the hips. And then we're going to look over the right hand. And you're in Warrior 2. Great, we'll take one more breath. And you're going to straighten through that right leg. And we're going to come into Trikonasana triangle pose. So our palms are going to face front. You're going to inhale to lengthen up. Exhale, extend the rib cage over that right leg. and then rotate down. So, a few variations here. You can have a little bend in that front knee. That can help a little so that you're not feeling quite so much strain in the knee and the hip. If it is straight, again, make sure you've got that little micro bend in the knee so you're not locking the knee out. Your hand can either come down on the inside of the knee, the inside of the calf, or you can reach all the way down to the mat. However, if you're reaching all the way down to the mat, make sure this top shoulder isn't dropping. So you're keeping that top shoulder lifted. If you do find it's dropping, bring yourself back up a little. This top arm can reach up, or you can wrap it around the back of the waist. Either looking down towards the mat, straight ahead, or up towards the ceiling. Lovely. Then we'll inhale, draw ourselves all the way back up, lower the hands, and we're going to turn to go on the other side. So turning the left toes out, again, have a little wriggle around, find the best stance for you, bend into that left knee. So you might find as well that front knee rolls in a little. Use the adductors, press back with that knee. So the knee is tracking towards the toes. You should be able to just see your big toe. If you can't see your big toe, but you can see your little toes, it's definitely rolling in. Keep pressing back with that knee. Bringing the arms up, shoulder height, palms facing down. Some people like to bring their hands in towards their chest and then stretch out just to find that balance between the back and front arm. So whatever works best for you. Looking over that left hand. Wonderful. We're going to straighten through that left leg. Turn the palms to face front. So the inhale lengthens up. The exhale extends over that left leg and then rotating down. So again, hand to the inside of the knee. It can go down to the inside of the calf. It can go right the way down to the mat. This one as well, if you do have blocks or bricks, can be quite good. Popping a brick down or a block and popping the hand onto that instead. So it just keeps you a little bit lifted and gives you something to have a nice little lean on. If that top hand gets tingly, wrap it around the back of the waist instead. This can help you to lift that top shoulder. Gaze either down, straight ahead, or looking up towards the ceiling. Lovely. And inhaling, coming all the way back up, lowering the arms, heel toe the feet in, and then give the legs a little wriggle. Fantastic. So stepping back towards the front of your mat, we're going to have a nice bend in the knees, hands heavy, chin in towards the chest, and rolling down. Once you reach your full forward fold, take hold of opposite elbows and just ragdoll from side to side. So let gravity do the work and weight forwards towards the toes. Just slowly we're going to roll all the way back up. So again, take your time. Stack one vertebrae on top of the other. Let the head be the last thing to come up. When the head comes up, just slowly start to float the hands up towards the ceiling. Looking up towards the ceiling with the hands. And then we're going to continue that movement, but coming all the way back down. So let the fingers come down, bend into the elbows, let the head come down, like you're rolling down. In fact, we are rolling down. So roll down through the body. Let the hands be heavy, good bend into the knees. If you have any back problems such as a herniated disc, this can sometimes not be the best thing for a herniated disc. So just miss this one out, skip forward a little in the video. But listen to your own body. flexion is an important part of our spinal movements. So you might find that a lot of exercise videos suggest that you have a flat back all the time, which can be helpful for some things. But our spine is also designed to go into flexion, which is when we fold forward and round the back. So it's good to utilise that flexion of the spine as well. So rolling all the way back down. Then we'll do that just once more. So inhaling to roll up. Floating the arms all the way up to the ceiling. And exhaling to roll down. Lovely. Once you reach a full forward fold, we are going to come to sitting on the mat. So there's a few options for this. You can pop the hands down behind you and sit down. You can come to kneeling and then sit, or if you can, see if you can bend into the knees and then control that all the way down. Come into sitting on the mat without using the hands. Don't worry if you're not there yet, keep practicing it. It's a good one to learn to do. It's one of those things that helps keep us properly mobile. So it's one to work on, being able to stand up, and sit down without using the hands. So then we're going to stretch the feet out in front, shuffle the bottom back a little on the mat, have a good bend into the knees, and then we're going to fold forward over the legs. So keep that deep bend in the knees so you can really settle the body over the legs. So snuggle the belly down onto the thighs. Let the head rest down onto the knees. So this isn't so much about finding a stretch, but just about finding that support of upper body and lower body. Lovely. So if that's feeling okay, you can see if you can walk the heels away a little, but try and maintain that connection between body and thighs. Lovely. We're going to inhale and roll up, giving the shoulders a little roll back. Lovely. Then we're going to bring the right knee in, so sole of the foot on the inside of the left thigh. I'll just spin myself around so you can see. So sole of the foot on the inside of the left thigh. If you feel or find that the knee is quite high up because you got tighter hips or you have a natural internal rotation to the hips, then it can be quite helpful to pop a block underneath that knee to support the knee so there's no strain going through that knee. And then we're going to walk the hands forwards, reaching towards that left foot. Got my rights and lefts all mixed up there again. So if you find difficult to reach for the foot, you can hold on around the calf, you can hold on around the ankle, or you can take the strap around that foot. Let's try and have a bend in the elbows, shoulders down away from the ears. Lovely. And nice and slowly you're going to draw yourself back up. You're going to bring that knee to point up towards the ceiling. And we're going to take that right foot over, crossing it over the left leg. Right hand's going to go out in front, and taking that hand around behind you onto the mat, wrapping the left arm around the right leg and looking over the right shoulder. So coming into a twist, just spin myself around again. So we're not trying to force the body round, just gently coming into a twist, trying to sit up nice and tall, easing the body round. The leg that's stretched away, try and keep the toes pointing up towards the ceiling. So try not to forget about it and let the foot go floppy. Try and keep that leg engaged. Great. Then with your next inhale, we're going to come back round to centre. Uncross that leg. Stretch it away. I'm going to spin back to the original way. Oh, all the turning around. Lovely. And then we're going to go on the other side. So drawing the left foot in. So sole of the foot to the inside of the right thigh. Knee rolling out. Again, you can pop padding underneath that knee if that's more comfortable. Then we're walking the hands down the right leg, taking hold of the calf, ankle, foot, or again, using your strap. So strap in either hand, bend into the elbows. Try and draw the shoulders down away from the ears. This right leg doesn't have to be straight. You can have a nice bend in that right knee as well. Lovely. Then your next inhale, walk the hands back up towards you. Bring that left knee in. So knee pointing up towards the ceiling, either keeping the foot on the inside of the right leg or crossing it over. Left hand out in front. Exhale, take that left hand round behind onto the mat. Wrap the right arm around the left leg and looking over that left shoulder. The right toes pointing up towards the ceiling. Think about your inhale lengthening up, your exhale twisting. Lovely. Inhaling, coming back round to centre. Uncross that leg. Stretching it away. Shuffle yourself forwards a little on the mat. And we're going to roll down through the spine. So take your time. Really use those abdominal muscles. So you can always hold on around the back of the thighs. You can have the hands down on the mat. But try not to rush this. Chin in towards the chest. And then rolling all the way down so the back is down on the mat. And then just once we're going to roll all the way back up. So you can always pop the hands down to help you out that beginning bit. Or you can pop the hands on the legs to help you out. Or reaching the hands out in front, chin to chest. Rolling yourself all the way up. So if the belly shakes, don't worry, that's good. Means it's working. And then we'll roll all the way back down. So again, chin into chest, holding on around the back of the thighs, or pop the hands down. Take your time. Lovely. Once you reach the mat, draw the knees in towards you. Either just giving the knees a hug in or coming into happy baby pose. So happy baby, we hold on to the ankles or the big toes or the outsides of the feet. Knees down towards you, soles of the feet up towards the ceiling. And you can either hold still or you can rock from side to side. It should feel quite nice on the lower back. Lovely. And then release the feet. And draw the knees in. Lovely. So if you want as well, make sure you've got plenty of layers on. So if you have done the whole of the practice, you probably want some layers on because you'll start to cool down quite quickly. So even if at the beginning of meditation you're feeling quite warm after your asana practice, it's a good idea to put some extra layers on, socks on, and have a blanket ready for meditation so that as the body cools down, you don't start to you don't start to feel uncomfortable with a cold body. So take your time, make yourself really comfortable. You might find that a knees bent, feet on the mat is more comfortable, maybe legs stretch out, popping any padding underneath the knees, any padding underneath the head. Hands can be resting on the center of the body, or they can be by the sides, just a little way away from the body, palms facing up, chin slightly tucked in. Just lowering the gaze or closing the eyes. And take a moment drawing the awareness in. Checking in and just noticing how you're feeling within yourself. No judgment. No expectation, just awareness of how you feel in this moment. As best as you can, try to not attribute positive or negative, good or bad. Simple awareness of how you feel in this moment. We're just going to take a nice deep breath in through the nose. And then gently open the mouth and exhale through the mouth. So inhaling through the nose. Open the mouth, exhaling through the mouth. Wonderful. And once more, inhale through the nose. And exhale through the mouth. Lovely. Allow the body to settle. Maybe do a quick scan around the body. See if there are any little adjustments you can make so that you can lie more comfortably. Maybe thinking about consciously relaxing any tension in the body. Notice your jaw. Consciously relax the tension in the jaw. Maybe your shoulders. Let the shoulder blades snuggle into the mat, releasing tension in the shoulders. maybe tension in the center of the body. Allow the belly to be soft and warm. Let the whole of the body become heavy and relaxed, fully supported by the mat. And just give yourself permission to be fully present. Know where you need to be, nothing you need to be thinking about. Just completely present in the moment. And at any point through the practice, if you need to move, then just moving yourself gently, finding a new comfortable position, and then allowing the body to settle again. And allow your awareness to come to settle on the breath. Notice if you're breathing through the nose or mouth, and trying to breathe as much as you can through the nose. Notice the quality of the breath. Is it smooth and even? Does it catch anywhere? Notice where the breath is moving to. Can you consciously send that breath all the way down, using that abdominal breath, letting the belly expand with the inhale and settle with the exhale. And can you notice if you're more comfortable in the inhale or the exhale? There is no right or wrong, but just notice. Does it feel more comfortable as the lungs fill with air? Or does it feel more comfortable as the air flows out? Or maybe it feels equal. Full awareness on noticing whether it's more comfortable in the inhale or the exhale. And just notice if the mind has wandered, as it naturally will. Notice where it's wandered to, past, future. No judgment, just notice. And then see if you can come back to the breath. This time noticing the natural pauses at the top of the inhale and at the base of the exhale. And just see if you can encourage those pauses, finding space between each breath. Again, notice if you're more comfortable pausing with the lungs full or with the lungs empty. No right or wrong, just notice. Has the mind wandered? Have you become distracted? No judgment, just awareness, coming back to the breath. And just gently starting to draw the awareness back into the room. Maybe notice the sounds around you, the sound of me talking to you through your computer or TV or phone. Awareness of your surroundings again. Just gently. And we'll gently start to wake the body up. Maybe wriggling fingers, wriggling toes, circling wrists, circling ankles. Taking a nice big stretch when you're ready, lifting the arms up and overhead, stretch right through the body. And then curling yourself into a nice tight ball, drawing the knees in, giving the spine a bit of a rock. And then rocking onto one side and just resting on one side for a moment. And when you're ready, nice and slowly, coming up to sitting. Take your time, ease the body up. Once you're sitting, find the most comfortable way for you to sit. Now I close all of my yoga classes by chanting Om 3 times. Om in yoga is the universal vibration. So when we chant Om, we connect to the universe. On a physiological level, when we chant, that vibration in the throat helps to stimulate the vagus nerve. So vagus nerve dealing with things like anxiety. So when we chant, we start to calm that anxiousness in the body. So it's very good for you on a physiological level as well. Now, particularly for beginners, chanting Om can feel a little intimidating, especially if you're not let's say an extroverted person, or you're not a singer and it's not something that you're used to. I can say that from experience because I can't sing and I'm very much an introvert, and the idea of chanting Om in front of people was always quite scary. But when I got into it and realised that it's more about the vibration than the sound that comes out, and it's that inner vibration, and actually the joy of chanting with other people is a really beautiful thing. So we will chant Om 3 times now, because you're in the safety of your own home. When you join a yoga class, join in if you want to. If you want to, for the first few weeks, just listen, then just listen. Just go with what feels best for you. So the sound of Om is an A-U-M, so it's an Om. And we extend that O in the middle and the M at the end. I will guide you into it, and yeah, just join in if you want to. Remember, it's not about what it sounds like. I can guarantee you mine won't sound like they're in tune or sound very melodic, but it's about that vibration. So that's what it's all about. So if you sit up nice and tall, hands can be in chin mudra, thumb and index finger together, or they can be in prayer in front of the heart. Or it's quite nice to rest the hands on the heart center, left palm first and then right palm on top, because then you can feel the vibration in your chest. And just lowering the gaze or closing the eyes again. We'll take a nice deep breath in through the nose and sigh that breath out. And again, deep breath in. And sigh that breath out. And then we'll inhale to begin. Om Shanti. Thank you. So, thank you for joining me for this little series of what to expect from your in-person yoga class. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope if you've been considering going to a yoga class, this has made you feel a little more confident about attending an in-person yoga class. If you are in the North Yorkshire area, I teach in Ripon and Massam, and yeah, if you go on my website, which is in the description below, you'll see my full class schedule and you can contact me to come join. I also do all sorts of different events through the year, so yeah, hopefully you can come and practice with me in person. Otherwise, I have a whole load of YouTube videos up there, so subscribe to the channel and go check out some other YouTube videos. But yeah, I hope you really enjoyed it. I enjoyed making this little collection of videos. You may have noticed that I say Om Shanti at the end of each practice. So Om Shanti, Om is that universal vibration, Shanti is peace. So it's wishing peace to all. So you would normally chant it 3 times, so you'd go Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. But sometimes I just end the class with Om Shanti, so peace to all. And that's how I like to end classes. Some teachers will say namaste. It's a personal preference. Yeah, so you can say whatever you like at the end of class, or simply nod your head, bow your head, sorry. Yeah, whatever works for you. There isn't, well, for me anyway, I don't think there is a rule as to what you should do. It should be what feels right to you. But yeah, with all of that said, thank you for joining me. Om Shanti.